Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. This is Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Live on tape from Bolero Roswell in Roswell. Wait. Look, every single episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour opens with this same sequence. And yet every week it seems someone poses the questions, where are you guys? What bowling center does this happen at? What city are you in? So, for those of you wondering, I'm gonna rewind this and ask you to pay attention! Live on tape from Bolero Roswell in Roswell, Georgia, just a few miles north of the ATL. That's Atlanta, home of over 100 streets with the word Peachtree in their name. This is Coach Randy, welcoming you to episode 113 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, the 2020 Taj Mahal Open. We began the day with 10 of our own Youth League bowlers and one out-of-state visitor who bowls Youth League in Charleston, South Carolina. Those 11 kids bowled a 2-game qualifier to try to secure one of 4 guaranteed spots in our Stepladder finals today. The bottom 7 would feed into a wild card round, where one would emerge as the 5 seed in the Stepladder. That player will bowl our number 4 qualifier, Joseph Ruth. Joseph has appeared on Prodigy Bowlers Tour a few times before, but those were league events, like our Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout and our team stepladders for the league championship. This is the first time Joseph has ever stayed after league for the expressed purpose of entering a Prodigy Bowlers Tour event, and he's qualified 4th. The winner of that first match will advance to face our 3 seed, Hunter Moffitt. Hunter was one of our winningest players on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the 2018-19 season when he was still in our junior varsity and bowled Prodigy as a little. But this season, he elected to move up and bowl in the varsity, and he's been competing as a big on Prodigy. Despite several opportunities to win, he's still knocking on the door in hopes of getting his first victory of the 2019-20 bowling season. The winner of that match will face our 2 seed today, Tristan Davis. Tristan is no stranger to Prodigy viewers. He's one of the steadiest players we have and seems to contend just as often on short, medium, and long sport patterns. He's been working on his game with Doug O'Brien, Annalise's dad, and has made some pretty significant improvements, and it showed up in another steady performance in qualifying today. The winner of that match will bowl for the championship against our visitor from South Carolina, who's making his first appearance on Prodigy Bowlers Tour today. Will Young is a smooth-rolling 16-year-old out of Sandpiper Lanes in Charleston. He and his mom made the trip to Atlanta this weekend just to bowl Prodigy and is going to stay the night and bowl the GYBT event tomorrow down the street at Bolero Norcross. He's 1 match away from signing the coveted trophy pin on his first attempt, something that very few bowlers have accomplished. As the title of today's show might have led you to believe, they're bowling on the 38-foot sport pattern known as Taj Mahal. This pattern has about a 1-to-3 ratio with a volume of 24.56 milliliters of oil. The rule of 31 would tell you want to have the ball on about the 7 board coming off the pattern at the 38-foot mark. Here's how the qualifying round played out, as Tristan made a statement early, throwing down a strong 224 game out of the gate. Will was right on his tail with a 213. Hayes Gabriel made a strong bid to grab one of those guaranteed spots in the stepladder, as did Hunter. Then in Game 2, Will backed up that 213 with the highest game of the tournament when he fired a scintillating 241. But Tristan gave very little ground, firing another strong game, a 213. But the big move was made by Joseph Ruth, who backed up his 154 opening game with a strong 197 to secure a tie with Hunter Moffitt for third place, forcing a one-ball roll-off to determine the seeding for the final two guaranteed spots in the stepladder. Each player was given his choice of qualifying lanes to bowl on. Hunter went first.
That is an 8 count. 8. Seven.
And that meant Hunter would be the 3 seed and Joseph dropped to 4th. But now, as we move to the wild card round, all these players from 5th to 11th have an equal chance to grab the wild card spot in the stepladder. But to do that, they first have to survive a single ball elimination round. They'll all throw one ball on the left lane, and the player with the low pinfall will be eliminated. Then they move to the right lane and repeat the process. We'll keep going until we winnow the field down to just one, and that player will be our 5th seed in the stepladder finals today. So without further ado, let's get the festivities underway. They're bowling in the order they finished the qualifying round. So first up is our 5th place qualifier, Christian Manel. And he gets 9 on the opening toss. That's usually good enough to stick around, especially in the early going of a single ball elimination. Next up will be Jesse Hamadi. Jesse, an infrequent participant in our Prodigy Bowlers Tour after league events. He's come close to winning a time or two, but never gotten all the way to the end. Throw enough of those and he will, though. A strong opening toss for Jesse, and he's safely on to frame 2. Next to go, Hayes Gabriel. This Hayes' 2nd season bowling league with us at Bolero Roswell. He used to bowl league out at Stars and Strikes in Cumming. There's a solid strike for Hayes. So he too is on to the 2nd frame. Now John Schlitch. John, as you may recall, won the varsity division in our end of league season Tournament of Champions. This is the league TOC, not the Prodigy TOC. And that netted him a cool $900 Smart Scholarship Award. Oh, and man, he gets a huge break, going from an apparent 7 count to 9. So, at the moment, he's on the bubble with Christian. Now a familiar face to anybody who watches Prodigy with any regularity, Nolan Kemp. Nolan got off to a pretty fast start in the qualifying round and then fell off in the 2nd game. And that's going to be trouble right there, 8. So Christian and John are now safe. And Nolan will be watching anxiously. Next up will be Josh Greenberg. Still bowling as part of our junior varsity league. Next year, we'll need to move him up into the varsity. He's actually one of the older players we have in the JV. One of these days, we need to get some videotape of Josh on the tennis court. I have it on pretty good authority that he's a good little tennis player. Now there's another 8 count. So Nolan and Josh now tied with 8. The last time Nolan and Josh went to a roll-off in one of these single ball eliminations, Josh got one of the worst breaks I've ever seen when he moved the 4-pin about 10 inches off spot before the pin setter knocked it over. All right, Rowan needs 9 to advance, 8 for a roll-off. Oh, look out. Uh-oh. And that's a 4 count and an early exit for Rowan Sautner. So he will have to take the first off-ramp. And he gets serenaded out the door. Well, he'll be back. But he will be the first one eliminated. So now as we move to frame 2, you see his name dimmed on the scoreboard, and he is marked as out. And we go back to the top of the order, and Christian Manel. Boom! Christian's been working on straightening out his swing plane, and he's been bowling better since. So you would think that a strike would get him through to the next frame, but if everybody strikes, somebody has to be eliminated. So we'll see. There's Jesse with another light shaker. Couple of strikes to lead off here in frame 2. Next up, Hayes Gabriel. Pretty good shot, but the 7-pin remains, so we've got a 9 count on the board. And that has Hayes on the bubble. Next to go, John Schlitch. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Just never got that one wide enough. And it hooked immediately on a 38-foot oil pattern. You got to get that ball out to the right side of the lane, because it's got a long way to travel on the back end on dry lane. And John just didn't get it wide enough. So a 1 count is all Nolan and Josh will need to beat. There's a 9 count, so Nolan is safe. And now Josh will sweep off that 10-pin left by Nolan. thing you got to be careful of is stay behind the foul line. That means don't trip, don't slip, and keep it off the gray boards. That'll do it. So Josh with a 9 count. He moves on to frame 3. So it's John Schlitch who takes the next off-ramp. Thanks for playing our game. We have some lovely parting gifts. So John heads to the car. And we move on to the 3rd frame. Now there's just 5 players. We will keep winnowing the field until we're down to just 1. And that 1 player will take the 5 spot in our Stepladder finals today. Who is it gonna be? A little bit of commotion as Christian's up on the approach. Everybody needs to settle down. Give him room to bowl. And a solid strike by Christian in the 3rd frame. So he lets everybody know he's here to play. And now Jesse, all he's done is strike thus far. And that's the best one of the bunch that he's thrown so far. 3 in a row out of the gate. Pretty strong. And now Hayes Gabriel. So far, a strike and a 9 count. That 9 count looked like it could have been a strike, but it was a light shaker 7-pin that he left. This time, everything on the left side gets wiped out by a power swisher. So 3 strikes from our first 3 players. Nolan will be next to go, as John is now out. There's Nolan. Sets his feet carefully, picks out his target, and he pulled it through the nose, leaves the 6-10. That's an 8 count. So that puts Nolan in a precarious position now. With Josh coming up. This little guy's going to need 9 or a strike to advance to the 4th frame. 8 would put him in a roll-off with Nolan. 7 or less, and Josh will be headed home. Get up. Oh, it's the 1-2-8. That's a 7 count. And so it's Josh who's now out. And that puts an end to his day on the lanes. Well, I've always said that The little guys could conceivably win one of these single ball eliminations because you don't have to have the high pinfall to advance. You just have to avoid having the low pinfall. But this time, Josh couldn't match the 8 to get into a roll-off, so we're on to frame 4. And here's Christian leading off on the right lane. Little light. And what would a Prodigy Bowlers Tour episode be without Christian leaving a 210 combination at least once? Usually he leaves it with the 8 pin, so at least he got 8 this time. Maybe it'll be enough, maybe it won't. When the field gets smaller and smaller, those 8 counts look more and more dicey. Jesse's looking for 9 or better. Oh, he had a whole gaggle of them standing, but got them all to go but one, and that 9 count means he's on to frame 5. Next to go will be Hayes. So far, Hayes has a strike, a 9 count, and a strike. He left a 7 pin the last time he was up on this right lane. But this time he sweeps them all off the deck. A solid strike, and Hayes punches his ticket to frame 5. And now Nolan, who has yet to throw a strike. He's the only one of our remaining 4 players who hasn't yet struck. And he gets 9 this time, but that's good enough. And it's Christian who will be bidding everyone a fond farewell. But since I'm his ride, he doesn't get to leave. He'll go practice. All right, frame 5. Jesse's now our new leadoff player. And look at this guy. Another strike. That's 4 strikes in 5 frames for Jesse. Pretty good shooting. So now Hayes Gabriel. Oh, that looked like a pretty good shot when it came off his hand, but it didn't quite make the corner, and that's a 7 count. That could be trouble. Nolan needs 8, 9, or all 10 to move on without a roll-off. 7, and we're in sudden death. 6 or less, and Nolan will be shown the door. But that is a solid strike. And so we must say goodbye to Hayes Gabriel. He bowled well. 3 strikes in 5 frames, plus that 9 count that could have been a strike. But that 7 count got him in the 5th frame. So now we're on to the 6th frame, and our final 2, either Jesse or Nolan, is going to be the 5 seed. in our Stepladder Finals championship round today. Which one will it be? Oh, he got a crossover. And he knows he got away with one that time. And now Nolan's got to match him, or it's game over. Must strike. Oh, and he got a crossover too. And a trip 6 to boot. Nolan loves it. So we're going to extra frames. Rinse, repeat. And Jesse's going to go hit his rosin bag. Now he's ready. Here's where it gets really touch and go. Oh, he never got it wide enough. A little unlucky. That could have broken up to maybe an 8 or 9 count, but it's 7. And Jesse cannot be feeling real good right now. That's the thing about this single ball elimination format. Every shot you throw could be your last. And now Nolan just needs 8 or better, and he will secure the 5 spot in the stepladder. And there it is, a solid strike. And he gets congratulations from Jesse, and it's Nolan Kemp who will meet our 4 seed today, Joseph Ruth, in our opening stepladder match next. A quick thank you to all the Prodigy heads who submitted entries in our Y'all Log contest. Over the holiday break, we released the Y'all Log video and contest as a fun way to celebrate the holiday season. Throughout the Y'all Log video, we sprinkled in a series of clips showing bowling shots thrown on Prodigy. And the challenge was for you to submit an entry with an estimate of the total number of pins knocked down in all the clips of bowling that were sprinkled throughout the Y'all Log video. For anyone wondering, the correct answer was 511. There were 53 shots shown. 51 of them were strikes. 1 was a gutter ball, and 1 was a 1 count. So 511 was the correct answer. 9 Prodigy heads submitted an entry with the correct number. We were gonna draw 3 winning entries from the correct entries received, but at the last minute I decided to go ahead and get enough DVDs so that all 9 contestants who submitted a correct entry could receive a copy of the movie The Short Game on DVD. And those DVDs are going out in the mail now. I hope you had a festive and fun holiday. Congratulations to all 9 of our winners. And Happy New Year to all of you in Prodigy Land.
When pro bowlers Johnny Petraglia, Judy Sutar, and Tommy Hudson helped design these Brunswick balls, they put more than their names on the line. They put their reputations and their futures on it. Because every time they step up to bowl, they bowl to win. That's why everything they know about bowling and everything we know was built into these signature balls from Brunswick. The Signature Series, a new breed of bowling balls born to win. Check out the whole family of winners at your Brunswick dealer.
Well, here's a quick recap of how the single ball elimination wildcard round went down. Rowan was first to exit with a 4 count. Then John let one get away, and the resulting 1 count put an end to his day. Then Josh came up short with a 7 count. Christian's 8 count sent him home in the 4th frame. Hayes was the only one without a strike in the 5th frame. And in the 6th and final frame, Nolan and Jesse both struck, sending them to sudden death, where Jesse was the first to crack under the pressure. So it's Nolan Kemp who secures the wild card spot, the 5th spot in our Stepladder finals today. And now we bring on our 4 seed, Joseph Ruth. This is a whole new type of challenge for Joseph, who's making his first solo appearance on Prodigy today. Joseph, being the higher finisher, had the option, and he has chosen to lead off so he can finish last. A lot of times players will choose to finish first to put the pressure on their opponent, but Joseph wants to know what he needs at the end. And he just misses the head pin and leaves a tricky spare to start. That's the washout, one of the flavors of washouts that we see, the 1-2-10. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin, drive it over into the 10. The ball will get the 2. A little too full on the head pin. So there's an open to start the match for Joseph. And now Nolan had to come up through the wild card round to get the 5 spot in the Stepladder, but here he is, and I know he'd like to make the most of it. Pretty good shot to start. Weak 10. We call it the weak 10. The difference between the weak 10 and the solid 10. And solid 10, the 6 pin will fly up and around the 10. But watch it here. 6 pin just lays in the gutter. Doesn't have the impetus to fly up and around the 10. So we call it the weak or soft 10. And he goes cross lane at it and converts the spare. So Nolan out to a quick 11-pin lead, thanks to that open by Joseph in the first. That's the importance of spares. We talk about it all the time. Every coach I know who coaches youth bowlers preaches the importance of spares. And look at this. Nolan committing the same mistake as Joseph did in the first frame, missing the head pin and leaving the washout. This time the 1-2-10 plus the 4. It's the same spare that Joseph left, just add the 4 pin to it. You make it the same way. Put the ball on the left side of the head pin, throw the 1 over into the 10, the ball will get the 2 and the 4. I would expect Nolan to get close on this. Oh, man. You hate to see that when the 1 flies around the 10. But that's an open frame, and the lead right back to Joseph. Joseph, not really a tournament bowler. He's bowled Pepsi a few times. But doesn't bowl the youth tournament circuit. You won't see him in a GYBT, for instance. At least I don't think you have. He's a 167 average in league. His high game this year, 202. Now last season, Joseph got hot one day and reeled off a 279. I think that's his career high game. there are years when that might even stand up to be the high game in the youth league, but last year we had some 290s. A high hit leaves the 610. Now Joseph, this orange ball, he's gone to the rack. This is a house ball that he uses to shoot right side spares. And I was just going to say, he is deadly accurate with it at picking up the 10 pin. And he got the 10 pin again, but that time he ran by the 6. So it's an open. But he did get the 10 pin. That ball doesn't even fit his hand. Nolan with a 9-pin advantage moves over to lane 40. And he'd like to put another one right in the pocket here. But he pulled it. And leaves the 3-6. This Taj Mahal pattern, about a 3-to-1 ratio, so you won't get a lot of help if you send it wide. We've seen players miss right, and it doesn't recover. Well, and there's a good example of it. He sent that one a little wide right, and it didn't recover. Of course, that was his spare ball, so you wouldn't expect it to. But nonetheless, it does keep the match close. But so far, 6 frames and just 2 marks. These guys can do better than this. Well, another high hit. And another 610 on the left lane. Joseph ran past the 6-pin a moment ago. See if Nolan can do any better. There's a spare. I tell you what, I do believe bowling on Prodigy these past few years has really helped Nolan. He didn't used to bowl on sport patterns very often, and therein lies the rub for Joseph. He doesn't bowl on sport patterns much. This is a whole new experience as he carries a Brooklyn strike. Not exactly textbook, but he'll take it. Watch this. He runs up there with abandon. Usually falls off balance a bit. This one crosses over and, well, down they go. It's not how, it's how many. There's another Brooklyn hit that almost tripped the 6. He goes back to this same house ball to shoot the 6-pin. And there's a spare. Both of these two, Joseph and Nolan, have grown up in our youth bowling program. They were both young players when I first started coaching at what at that time was Brunswick Zone Roswell back in 2012. Another crossover. Nolan leaves the 5-pin. Well, if you're going to have errant first shots, leave yourself easy spares at least. They don't get much easier than the 5-pin. And he just gets it. Well, I told you that Nolan and Joseph grew up in our youth bowling program. Look what I found. Who's this guy? 5 years ago, Nolan Kemp. Ha! They do grow up much too fast, don't they? Yeah, you could tell that was left off his hand immediately. And now he's got a tricky little split, the 310 baby split. Best bet is to move left and go cross lane at it. It'll reduce the space between the two pins. Fit the ball just to the right of the 3, into the 10. And he gets it just wide enough to nudge out the 10. And that's well done. This match remains close. Joseph, a little wide with the first ball. The lead shrinks to 2. And now he's got the 1, 2, 4. Move your feet about 4 boards to the right of your strike position. Joseph doesn't even look down. I'm not sure he even knows what board he's standing on. And that's the difference between a recreational player and a tournament bowler. Well, here's Joseph a few years ago. He too grew up in our program. This is a picture I took of him 5 years ago. And this is one of my very favorite pictures I took of the kids. I caught Joseph jumping for joy after a strike. Right through the nose, gets away with it, breaks down the split, leaves just the 6 pin. And he goes back to that house ball and will try to convert it. There you go. And that's how it's done. Oh, now wait a minute. Who's this guy? Well, when we were taking pictures of the kids, we got some pictures of the coaches too. It's a miracle the camera lens didn't break. Pulled it again. This time he pulls it all the way over to the Brooklyn side and gets a strike. Not the way you'd like to get it, but hey, it's an X on the score sheet. On the score sheet, it looks like high flush. Just 1 mark separating these two. That's the importance of spares. I talked about it earlier, but for every open frame you can convert to a spare, you pick up 11 pins. That's a better shot. Right in the pocket. Leaves that soft 10 again. Had a much better angle that time. I think if he'd have taken a little speed off of it, it might have finished a little harder on the back end and snapped out that corner pin. Look out. And that will tighten things up. Actually hands the lead to Joseph now. Joseph doesn't look down at his feet. He has no idea where he's standing. But you know what? I've known players like that are just field players. They just Go by what feels right. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, he pulled that one and got lucky to leave just one pin as the 6-7 was staring at him for an instant. But now it's just the 6-pin, and with a conversion, he will maintain a 2-pin lead. Oh, but he runs by it. It would have gotten the 10 again, though. And now the lead goes back to Nolan. Spares, spares, spares. There's not a coach in America or anywhere in the world that doesn't preach the gospel of the spares to young bowlers and older bowlers alike. See Nolan take his time to look at his feet and knows exactly where he's standing. But he pulls it again. I'm not sure if they're just afraid of sending it right or if he's just pulling the shot. He'll go cross lane at the 6-10. And he gets it. So Nolan will take a 10-pin advantage into the 10th frame. Now here's the situation. Joseph, with 3 strikes in the 10th, can bowl 159. Nolan, if he goes strike spare, would shoot 159. So Nolan will need a double here in the 10th to shut out Joseph. And anything less than a strike on this ball, and Joseph can get up in the 10th and beat him. Well now, there's the opening Joseph was looking for. So no matter what Nolan does, he can't shut out Joseph. But he sure as heck would like to make this. Okay. A strike on the fill ball would give him 158. Joseph would need 3 strikes in the 10th to win by 1. And there's the strike. So, Joseph, you need to strike on this ball, the next ball, and the 3rd one in the 10th to win by 1 stick. And it's not going to happen. So Nolan wins the opening match. Joseph with a spare strike finish would get 149. It's not going to be enough. And there's an open, so he's going to finish with a 138. And Nolan takes match 1. He will face our 3 seed, Hunter Moffett, when we return after this. So after finishing 9th in our qualifying round and then squeaking through our wild card round, Nolan Kemp seems determined to make the most of this opportunity. In a grinded-out match with the number 4 qualifier, Joseph Ruth, Nolan managed to get just enough marks to climb the stepladder to match 2, where now he'll face our number 3 qualifier, Hunter Moffett. Hunter exercised his option. He wants to finish the match, so he's going to lead off. He may prefer lane 40 and just wants to finish over there. Oh! What a break to start. And he knows he got away with one. So does Nolan. Let's watch this one again. This ball is actually going to go around the 7 pin in front of it. Watch it deflect in front of the 7. And something else gets the 7 pin. I don't know what it was, but it's a strike on the score sheet. Nolan comes up a little thin on the opening toss. Leaves the 2-4. That 5 pin going down makes this a little easier to make. The 2-5 is easier to chop than the 2-4 for a right-hander. But he finds a way to chop it anyway. Sends the 2 in front of and around the 4. So an open frame for Nolan to start the match. Not what he had in mind. Well, when I first started coaching, Nolan was one of the first kids I talked to. I tried to get him to straighten that right arm swing instead of using that bent elbow. But he was having none of it. And he's just always done it this way. And it's worked for him pretty well. All these years later, I've decided I don't mind that his elbow is bent as much as I wish he would keep that elbow closer to his torso. He'd get more power on the ball if he did. Speaking of a lack of power, Hunter with an 8-10. A leave you don't see all that often nowadays with the modern bowling ball, but Hunter has been throwing urethane, so a little more common that way. Ooh, and he actually went for it. Anytime the 2 pins, the key pin, which is the one you have to hit, and the one you're trying to slide it into, whenever they're on the same row, you've got to cut it really thin to slide it over. The 1-2-8. Here's how you make it. Put the ball over on the Brooklyn side of the head pin. The 2 will get the 8, or the ball will take out all 3 pins. Not over there, it won't. And I'll tell you what, when Hunter came over and threw his practice balls on this pair of lanes, they get 2 warm-up balls before the match starts. The player coming on does. He had a hard time getting the ball up to the head pin. The practice pair off to our left, because it has more traffic on it by the time they come over to bowl on the show, they're usually expecting this pair to hook more than it does. Nolan missing the head pin, but gets the domino 4 into the 2. The 2 almost got the 1, but he leaves what I like to call the stone 1. easy spare. And he makes short work of it. Well, on this 38-foot pattern, you would think they would be playing out near around the 7 board. The rule of 31 states you take the length of the pattern, 38 feet, subtract 31, 38 minus 31 leaves 7. You want your ball on the 7 board at the end of the pattern, at the 38-foot mark. That's left of that. So, not surprisingly, the ball goes high. Now, it's not 100%, but it'll get you in the neighborhood most of the time. Obviously, you want to ultimately go by your ball reaction, but Rule of 31 works pretty well most of the time. Oh! Chop suey. Nolan plucks the 6 off the 10, an open frame, and this match just got closer. Now Hunter is nowhere near the 7 board. He's playing well inside that. And because he's throwing urethane, he may be able to get away with it somewhat. But that ball only got out to about 13. The pocket is 17. Whoops. Whiffs the 7 pin. That's not like Hunter. Well, these short oil patterns sometimes bedevil these kids, especially when they're not used to playing out by the gutter. That's where you need to be. There's a better shot. Now you can play inside on short oil, but if you miss left, that ball might miss the world on the left. He stood far enough to the left and threw it out to about the 11 board that he was able to get away with it. And that is trouble right there. The 4-6-10. And we were talking about splits a moment ago. When the key pin, the one you're trying to hit and the one you got to slide it into, are on the same row, you got to cut it so thin that more often than not, if you go for it, you'll miss both pins more often than make it. So most players just go for the count, and this time Nolan gets a field goal instead. I don't know what that was about, but he was a little off balance and nothing's going his way right now. Back-to-back opens. At times like this, you just want to slow down, gather yourself, focus on your target, and just make a nice positive shot. Okay, that was better. On a 38-foot oil pattern, that ball he's throwing should finish harder than it is. And I tell you what, that is a hypercell fused, and that ball should be just making a sharp left turn on this oil pattern. I would think Nolan would do well to get that thing into the pro shop and give it a deep cleaning. He's had that ball for about 2 years, and I suspect that the pores on that cover are just filled with oil. Well, now there's a leave you don't see every day. The 2-7-10. You shoot it just like the 2-10. If you make the 2-10, you'll make the 2-7-10 if you're a right-hander. He's going at it from the left side. But he misses them all, and my goodness gracious. What is this we're witnessing? It's certainly not a spare exhibition. That was close. Fractionally high, leaves the 4. All right, Hunter, settle down. Let's see a spare here. My goodness. It's a good thing he used the big ball. Well, a spare is a spare is a spare. All right, Nolan nursing a 5-pin lead. Now's the time to put your foot on the gas. Get off this open streak. Pulled it again. Well, it looks to me like Nolan is lofting the ball a little more than I'm used to seeing him. And it may be because he's squeezing it. You got to have a relaxed thumb in the ball so that ball will come off your hand quickly. And then he whiffs the 3-pin. That is not like Nolan, especially with his spare ball in his hand. Well, funny thing about match play is, it doesn't matter what the score is, as long as you get 1 pin more than the other guy. See the big loft? And that delays the hook. And he gets 5-0. The pin setter knocked the 7 down. Well, ordinarily, we would have them reset the spare, but uncharacteristically, this bowling center is jam-packed, and the line up at the counter is a mile long, and it would take us forever to get this spare respotted. So we're going to exercise our option. This is, as we've often said, unofficial, informal, and impromptu after-league competition, non-sanctioned. So we're just going to have him shoot this spare as is. If he makes it, he would have gotten the 7 on the spare. You'd almost can't conceive of making the 1, 2, 7, 8, 10, putting the ball on the 1 and 2 without getting the 7 pin. So we'll just give him the pin. We'll be here all day if we wait for them to reset it. So well, he would have knocked the 7 down anyway. That's 8 out. And the lead for Hunter grows to 18. We'll do that every now and then on Prodigy. You know, we're a little funny that way. Well, that never had a chance. That ball never got to the right half of the lane. The 1, 3, 6, 8, the best way to play it is down the left side of the lane with a straight or backup ball and hit the Brooklyn side of the head pin. A right-hander can play the 1-3 pocket, but the ball's got to drive through and get the 8, and Hunter missed the head pin. So, we have 2 spares on the board through 8 frames. Two spares and 3 strikes. The rest opens. Come on, Hunter. You can make a 10 pin. Yes, he can. Just 3 pins separate them. I'm not sure if Nolan went down to the low end to kick a trash can or what. I would guess he's down at the snack bar. Or maybe he went outside to scream at the trees. I doubt that. It's raining today. Well, where's Nolan? Well, as you can see, some of the players that are coming up in the next couple of matches are warming up on lanes 37 and 38. I mentioned that the bowling center is jam-packed today. It's usually pretty slow on Saturdays, but because the weather is cold and dank outside, those are usually the days they get busy in here. And they've kicked us off our practice pair, 35 and 36. They need them for a party that's coming in here pretty soon. So Nolan's ready to go here in the 9th frame. He needs to get busy. Left again. Left again. Well, that bent elbow being out to the right the way it is puts his hand on the outside of the ball, which promotes a pull. If he would keep his elbow, I don't care if it's bent, but if he would keep it in a straight line between his shoulder and the back of the ball, he would have less of a tendency to pull it. And it would have the added benefit of giving him a little more power. He has had fits with Hunter on Prodigy. I think Hunter beat him every time they bowled. See if he can reverse the trend here. He may need to make a split to do it. Trailing by 5, he can ill afford an open here. He needs to make this and then get all he can to at least force Hunter to mark in the 10th. But no. And it's going to be a 116 for Nolan. And now Hunter, you can tell he's just looking at the scoreboard, calculating what he needs. And I can tell you right now, Hunter, you just need to stay behind the foul line, put the ball in the middle of the lane. That'll do it. 9 will do it for sure. And it's Hunter who's going to move on to match 3. He grabs his spare ball to shoot the 9 pin. Well, it wasn't a pretty game. That might be the understatement of the month. But every game produces a winner and a loser. And Nolan, being a good sport, congratulates Hunter. And Hunter is moving on to match 3, where he will face Tristan Davis when we return.
Now, bring the spirit of Prodigy Bowlers Tour to your bowling center with Prodigy Bowlers Tour t-shirts and sportswear, including collared shirts with the Prodigy logo printed on the back to show that you support junior bowling. Check out the entire assortment of Prodigy t-shirts in the Brownswick store. Visit PRODIGYBowlersTour.com to see the selection. See the ash gray Celebrating Junior Bowling, Elevating Junior Bowlers t-shirt, or the Who Will Win the Coveted Trophy Pin t-shirt. Or maybe you'd want the one that says, I've come to get my bowl on, right on the front of the shirt, or simply, Bowl Me. There's a t-shirt that says, Bowling. You probably don't get it because it's mainly for smart people. And if you're a proud parent with a junior bowler, we've got a t-shirt just for you. And how about this t-shirt? You're bowling an 8th grader. Prepare to meet defeat. Available in grades 1 through 9, most in both adult and kid sizes. And finally, the shirt that reads, Bowl better, have more fun, take lessons. Then maybe you can keep up with me. The Brownswick store is powered by the people at Cafe Press, and all of these shirts are available right now. Just go to PRODIGYBowlersTour.com and click on the link to be taken right to the store. PayPal and credit cards accepted. That's PRODIGYBowlersTour.com. Get your bowl on and bring the spirit of Prodigy Bowlers Tour to your house. Order now. Go to PRODIGYBowlersTour.com. That's PRODIGYBowlersTour.com.
Well, I'm not going to lie about it. Match 2 was not exactly an exhibition of precision shot making. But it was an example of how match play in bowling can test a player's patience as it demands their utmost in concentration, especially when things seem to be going haywire all around you. Because in match play, it doesn't matter if you bowl 260 or 130, as long as you bowl one pin higher than your opponent. He may not be proud of it, but I'm betting that Hunter is not going to give back that 131 he just bowled. But I've got a feeling it's going to take a little more than that to win match 3, as our number 2 qualifier, Tristan Davis, now enters the scene. Tristan's games of 224 and 213 in qualifying pretty much threw down the gauntlet and let Hunter know he'd better come correct if he wants to get past this match. Well, a ball change. Hunter threw his IQ Tour Emerald that time. And again, he's playing pretty far inside on the lane. And I don't know that he's going to like the result in there. He makes the 3-6-10, though. And that was well done. So now we get our first look today at Tristan Davis. Tristan playing outside on the lanes. I think that's where you want to be. Ten pin. Pretty good shot, though. Just came in a little thin. Tristan, like Hunter, had a hard time finding the pocket. He was wide on each of his warm-up tosses. As the ball just doesn't quite want to make the corner. But I think that's because they get used to bowling on the practice pair, or even 37 and 38 had more traffic on them. They had all those qualifying games bowled on them by all the players. That this pair just hasn't had as much traffic. You see that ball break sharply on the back end. That's what you expect on a short oil pattern. So you've got to have that ball coming off the pattern far enough to the right so that it has room to hook. Solid conversion of the 4-pin. Tristan has become a good spare shooter. He's always been a pretty good spare shooter, but he's gotten really good here in the last year or so. You see Hunter's ball is only getting out to about the 12th or 13th board down at the tracers. And he really wants it outside of the far right tracer. Look out. Another open frame. And he maybe could get away with some open frames against Nolan, but I don't think Tristan's going to give him that much leeway. Well, he trips the 6 on a Brooklyn hit this time. But Hunter needs to get that ball out to the right. Watch where it passes the tracers down lane. He's playing inside the 4th arrow. That ball only gets out to about 13. And when it's just 4 boards right of the pocket, and it's got all that room to hook on the back end where the lane is dry, good luck. That's how you play short oil, out by the edge. And actually, Tristan's not even really at the edge. I would consider the edge out by the 1 or 2 board. Tristan's playing around 7. That ball is outside the right tracer, maybe about the 6 or 7 board. I think he'd rather it be on the 7 board. That looked like it was around 5 or 6, and it just barely ticked the head pin. But it was a strike. And there's a sound you don't hear on Prodigy all that often because they're very rarely this busy on a Saturday afternoon. But Tristan backs away as somebody was being paged for their lane. See, now that one was a little inside where he's been throwing it. And it just got a little too high in the pocket. Leaves the 4. No problem with the spare, though. Let's see if Hunter will make the adjustment. He's still standing pretty far to the left. He threw that one way out to the right. That looked to be his urethane ball. It's just not going to hook that much. It's just not built to hook that much. His IQ might have. That's the ball he should be throwing if he's going to play that angle. But it looks like he's gone back to his pitch black. Well, it doesn't go Brooklyn. That time he was a little farther outside, but he's confused. He doesn't know what to do. And that is a helpless feeling. And that ball doesn't quite get over far enough to the left. He chops the 1-2-4, and that's another open frame. Tristan looks to have this pair figured out. But he pulled that one, just missed. And you just don't have much miss area on this oil pattern. That's the thing about sport shots. Sport patterns, they don't give you as much miss area as you have on a house shot. Good spare, though. and a 23-pin lead halfway through the match. Hunter's going to start feeling the pressure now. That's a better shot. That's a much better shot. That was so good. Let's look at it again, this time with the oil pattern laid over the lane. He's playing right up the oil line, and look where his ball is coming off the oil pattern. It's out by about the 6 or 7 board. Now, lay the ball down where it comes off the pattern at about the 12 or 13 board where Hunter's been, and look what happens. The ball's going to hook the rest of the way. And see where Hunter's ball is, the yellow dot, it's just too far left. You got to get the ball off the end of the pattern out by about 7 or 8 on this pattern if you want to have any chance. See, that's the right area. That's the right area. And now you just got to get the right ball to match up. Watch this. Watch where this ball is as it comes off the oil pattern. That's right about 7, maybe 6, 7 or 8, maybe. That's where you want to be. And he finds the pocket. Almost popped out the 10. But it stands. Now you got to make it. And he does. So now if he can just find that same area on the lane here on the left lane, I think he'll be doing some business. Okay. That wasn't quite as wide as the last shot, but he threw his urethane ball that time, I believe, and it doesn't hook as much. And you see it's going to be to the right of that right tracer at about the 9th board. That was not his pitch black. That's another ball he's got. Doesn't hook as much. All right, Tristan up on the right. Possible double here. And he does carry the 10. And that opens up a 33-pin lead as we get late in the match. I think Hunter finally figured it out, but we'll see if it's too late. Another strike, Tristan can go up by 43. Yes, sir. I thought that one might be a little wide, but he gets the light shaker to go. Watch his footwork. Simple 5-step approach, little drift to the left. Nothing wrong with that. All the good players seem to drift left nowadays. Now Hunter. And you see that one never got to the right of that right tracer. And predictably, it goes high. Well, it may not be in the cards for Hunter this game, but maybe he'll learn something from it. As he whiffs the 6-10, you can see the frustration on his face. He's kind of phoning it in now. Well, just hasn't found the right combination. You see he goes to a different ball on almost every shot. That's usually a sign that a player is just confused. He knows nothing is really locked in, so he even throws one-handed and can still do it. But Tristan just needs to show up here in the 9th frame, and he's going to put this match away. And that 9 count ought to do it. It's going to be Tristan Davis in the championship match. he will be our last best hope for a Bolero Roswell kid to win today. Hunter can keep score. He knows what's up. So he congratulates Tristan, who's going to end up with a pretty nice game here, it looks like. I should say so. That strike gets him into the 2 teens at least. This ball crosses about the 8 board at the arrows, out to about 5 or 6 at the break point. Makes a nice left turn on the back end. There's another good one. As we take another look at that shot by Tristan. This was a little inside of the one before it. Crosses about 7 at the break point and goes high flush. Ball change. He's just going to try out something here. See if he likes it. Looked pretty good to me. He'll have a couple of options. Well, I will mention that the winner today is not only going to sign the coveted trophy pin. There's a strike by Hunter. He's like, where was that earlier? The winner's not only going to sign the coveted trophy pin today, but he will also receive a DVD copy of the movie The Short Game, which is the prize we gave away for the Y'all Log contest over the holidays. I had a couple of extra copies. 9 and a wiggle is all you get, sir. So with a conversion, Hunter will finish with a 160. A little better than his previous game, but not enough to stand up to Tristan's 226. So it's Tristan Davis who will face the visitor from South Carolina, Will Young, for the title next.
AMF bowling pros have helped design a new ball. Here's Dick Ritka to tell you about it.
Here's how AMF's Pro Classic can help you get higher scores through zone control bowling. It all happens in the power zone and the action zone. This soft polyester ball is designed to hug the lane and give more traction in the power zone, so it can plow into the pocket with more drive in the action zone.
The new AMF Pro Classic ball, available at your pro shop or bowling center.
Hey, why don't you let loose? Let loose. Go bowling, bowling this weekend. Have fun. Go bowling, bowling this weekend. Let loose.
Let loose at Valley Bowl. Take the Valley Highway or Academy exit to security.
As frustrating as it might have been for Hunter, hopefully he learned a valuable lesson about bowling on short oil. Play farther out by the edge next time, and he's liable to have more success. That's where Tristan was playing, and it yielded a stellar score of 226. So it's Tristan Davis who advances to the championship match to face our tournament leader and Prodigy first-timer Will Young from Charleston, South Carolina. Will bowls the Tough Shots Tour up there, which is another junior gold qualifier, similar to the GYBT, Georgia Youth Bowlers Tour, down here in the Peach State. So even though he's only been bowling a couple of years, Will is already very familiar with bowling on sport patterns. I look for this to be a good match. Will wanted to finish first, So he has elected to let Tristan lead off. Now you could see that he missed just a little to the right off his hand. The ball tried to get back, but just hit a little too thin, and now he's got the 2-8. Lucky the 10 didn't stay up. Got to be careful with this. When you're on short oil, the best bet is to hit kind of on the right side of the 2, let the ball drive on through to get the sleeper 8. You don't want to hook past it. Oh, and he almost did, but he gets it. And that is a spare to begin. All right, now we get our first look on Prodigy Bowlers Tour at Will Young. 16-year-old from Charleston, South Carolina, making his first appearance on Prodigy today. Well, that's one way to break the ice. That can also jangle your nerves in a big hurry. Now, we'll find out a lot about this kid right here on this ball. I know they're not bowling for scholarship money, but if you think they don't take this seriously, knowing that tens of thousands of people are going to be watching, see what he does to recover here. Tell you what, he didn't baby it. What you see so often after somebody throws one in the moat is they'll pull the next shot, keeping it away from the gutter. He trusted that thing out to the right. He wasn't worried. Well, he gives up 11 pins in the opening frame, but that was a pretty good second shot. Let's see if he can gather himself now. That's a real good first ball in the second frame. A little unlucky, leaves a ringing 10. But he's got to feel pretty good about that toss. He seems pretty calm. We get these kids who have never been on the show before to fill out a little questionnaire. One of the questions I ask is, what do you want the whole world to know? He wrote, I'm up for the challenge. He's certainly up to the challenge of making the 10 pin. And now Tristan up on the right lane. Working on a spare. Oh, he rocks the 10, but it just wiggles and won't go down. Goes with his plastic ball. Oh, and he just missed it. Well, you don't see Tristan miss single pin spares very often. So a big break for Will. And he pulled that one. You could tell by his body language, as soon as he let it go, he knew it was left. But the good news is he wasn't on a spare, so he doesn't lose any count. He'll go for the 3-6. And makes it no problem. Well, these two crossed together in qualifying, bowling on the same pair. Tristan got the better of Will the first game, and then Will got the better of Tristan the second game, so this is something of a rubber match. Now Will back on the lane. He threw the gutter ball and see if he can throw a better shot. I'd say he can. That one was just a skosh high, but he trips the 4. 5-step approach. He's smooth. I'll tell you, the thing I love about his game most is how low he gets at the line when he releases the ball. That's done with knee bend, not waist bend. Look at how deep, low he gets. Now he rears up a little bit, but at release he's really low. Let's watch this one again. You'll be able to tell how low he is when the ball comes off his hand, and then he comes up. This ball's going to go a little high. Watch the 2-pin. It's going to go to the left wall, slip between the 4 and 7, and thank you very much. That's a double. And Tristan with a strike in the 4th. Chopping out the 10-pin. That was one of his better shots of the day. Watch this one. See, it's out to about 4 at the break point. And that strike makes this a 1-pin match. Well, I expected these two to go at it. That one a little farther inside than the one he threw on the right lane. And that was 10 in the pit.
Murphy, party and tool, your landing ready. Murphy, party and tool, your landing ready.
Well, that one got away from him. A high hit. Lucky he didn't have company with that 3-pin, but just the 3. This match is all even. And it'll remain that way through 5 frames, assuming Will converts this single pin spare. Both these guys wearing the same shirt. They were both at the Bowl for Life tournament a few weeks ago. There's a conversion. And we're halfway through the championship match. And they're right where they started. Even Steven. Will bowls pretty much exclusively on Sport Patterns. His league average is just 180, but that's in a Sport Shot league. He lists his high game as 268, but again, that's on a Sport Shot. And he shreds the rack that time. And let's take a closer look at his game, and especially his footwork. Watch the slide. I love the slide. He's got a long slide. Nobody teaches kids how to slide anymore. I love this. That's how it's done right there. All right, Tristan. This time the 10 stubbornly refuses to go, and Tristan cedes a 1-pin lead to Will. Now he missed this in the second frame on this same lane. And he did it again. Unbelievable. I don't think I've ever seen Tristan miss 2 single-pin spares in a game before, but we just witnessed it. And now Will's lead is 13. Tristan right back with a quality shot in the 7th, but it just goes a pinch high. And now he's got the 4-pin. Those 2 missed 10 pins are the difference in this match. Tristan would be up by 9 pins right now if he'd made both of those. Well, Will with a real opportunity here. Working on a strike, he can extend the lead to 23 if he can put a double on the board here. Something is not right, so he backs off. Just a little high, just like Tristan's shot on the left lane, just a fraction high. I tell you what, there's just a few things that Will could work on. I mentioned one of them. If he would stay down at the line, he tends to rear up. If he would stay down through the shot, then I would tell him if he wants to work on anything, he should work on keeping his head steady through the release. We see this a lot with kids, especially ones that have only been bowling a couple of years. Will's been bowling 2 or 3 years. Is they'll tend to jerk their head around a little bit through release. When you do that, it's hard to keep your eyes on the target. Watch his head. See, there's a little movement. Part of that is a function of him rearing up. So again, if he stops that, he'll fix part of it. And the only other thing I'd tell him is I'd like to see a little bit of spine tilt to the right. You can see him when he's standing at the approach. His spine angle is almost straight up and down. I'd like to see it tilted to the right just a little bit to get his head more over the ball through the swing. But I tell you what, there is a lot to like in this guy's game. Oh my goodness gracious, are you kidding? Well, that's twice in one game, and that will definitely rattle you. This time he's on a spare, so he loses 10 pins in count. So the lead goes from 13 to 3 in the blink of an eye. I don't know if he was trying to throw that ball a little farther to the right, create a little more angle, and he just missed, or what, but that was unexpected for sure. But we saw in the first frame that he didn't let it bother him. And I'd say it didn't bother him this time either. As the messenger takes out the 10 emphatically. Watch the head pin. The one in front, he will send it to the left wall and watch it come back. like a rocket. All right, Tristan trailing by 3. Oh, no. You are kidding me. Well, Tristan mentioned to me that one of the characteristics of the lanes here at Roswell is that even on short oil, playing too far outside, they just don't hook. And that's probably because they get so little traffic. There's so little wear on the lanes out there because most everybody plays inside. And he gets a bad break on the spare attempt. Leaves a ring in 10, so that's an open frame. And that opens up a 24-pin deficit. Well, just as Will hands him a 10-pin count advantage with his gutter, Tristan hands it right back and then opens. But he comes right back. Take another look at that one. He really had to have this. Right about 7 at the break point. That's right where we've been saying you need to be. But now, let's do the math. Tristan, with 3 strikes in the 10th, can shoot 184. Will is going at a 188 pace. That's strike, spare, strike the rest of the way. All right, a 9 count. So a spare here, and then strike spare in the 10th would give Will 187. Tristan can get to 184. So Will's got to be careful with this spare. Don't give anything away. He's really taking his time. Okay. So he needs to fill 18 in the 10th to shut out Tristan. 9 spare 9 would do it. If he gets a strike on the first ball, that'll make his job a lot easier. Then he would have 2 balls to get 8 pins. But I'll tell you what, he's thrown 2 gutter balls in this match. And he just saw his opponent throw one. I don't know how you not think about that. Oh, he knew that was good as soon as it came off his hand. What a time for his Sunday ball. Oh, he moved in a little bit. He wasn't messing with the gutter. You saw that. He threw that one over the second arrow. He's like, I am not fooling around. All right, he needs 8 pins in 2 shots. He don't care that it's Brooklyn. 9 will do it. And Will Young has won the 2020 Taj Mahal Open on Prodigy Bowlers Tour in his first visit to Prodigy. That alone is something of an accomplishment. I mean, he's not the first to do that on his first try, but we see a lot of them come through here, and they come away realizing winning on Prodigy, not as easy as it looks. That's a 187 game. And he gets congratulations from Tristan, who will have to be satisfied with a second place finish today. The pesky 10-pin was his undoing. Missing it in the second and sixth frames might have been the difference. Makes it that time. So with a strike, he'll finish with 164. And a solid one it is to finish. But it's Will Young who will be signing the coveted trophy pin and will be receiving a bonus gift this week. Coming up. Hey, Prodigy Land, it's me, Coach Randy. You know, in recent weeks, you may have seen a lot of videos popping up on YouTube talking about YouTube's new terms of service and the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, and something called COPPA, or the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. A lot of YouTube content creators are freaking out right about now over how this change could affect their ability to earn a living from their work creating quality children's programming. Making money has never been my primary motivation for producing Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and it's a good thing because if it was my primary reason for doing it, it would be a huge disappointment. I get about $300 a month from Google AdSense from those ads you see that run before the video starts playing. And that's one of the reasons I invite fans of the show to become Prodigy patrons through patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. By committing just $5 a month, you get early access to all our shows, and for a measly $10 a month, you get early access and you get your name listed in the credits at the end of the show as an executive producer. Still, even with our Prodigy patrons, my total earnings from Prodigy has never topped about $600 or $700 in a single month, in a good month. Given the 35 to 40 hours I spend working on the show each week, I'd make more per hour by flipping burgers at McDonald's. But I do Prodigy because I love doing it. What I don't love is having the federal government or YouTube questioning why I do it or deciding for me who I do it for. Prodigy Bowlers Tour has never been a children's show in my mind. Now, understand, in the context of the FTC and COPPA, a child-directed show is one that is programmed for kids under the age of 13. And while Prodigy certainly has a few kids under 13 who bowl on the show occasionally, the show is as much for their parents as it is for the kids themselves. And most of the kids you see bowling on Prodigy are well over the age of 13. So it's never really been a children's show in my mind. And now we learn that YouTube hasn't even been quite as honest with creators as they could have been. By forcing us to self-designate whether we make our videos for kids or for adults, YouTube has completely ignored a mixed-use designation that is clearly in the COPPA law. Prodigy Bowlers Tour is for viewers of all ages, and I hear from viewers of all ages all the time, from grandpas like me to young adults to teenagers and the occasional preteen. Most of the preteen viewers I've heard from watch the show with their parents. Honestly, one of my favorite things about Prodigy is how it brings families together. So with the future of revenue from these videos very much in doubt, thanks to the changes that are coming from YouTube, the FTC, and COPPA, I'd like to invite you once again to become a Prodigy patron. Log on to www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour and sign up. It's easy and inexpensive, and you'll be supporting a show that is watched by lots of families who support this awesome sport that we love. And in so doing, you'll help me stay in the game, regardless of what happens with COPPA, the FTC, and YouTube. Thanks for watching Prodigy Bowlers Tour and for being part of Prodigy Nation. And if you're a Prodigy patron already, thanks. So, 2020 begins with an out-of-state champion, as South Carolina's Will Young overcame 2 gutter balls to emerge victorious in the 2020 Taj Mahal Open on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Tristan Davis bowled great all day, but just let a couple of easy spares get away in the championship match, and then had 1 gutter ball of his own. Hopefully this doesn't spread throughout the new year. Christian, are you listening? You know, it's not that often that a first-timer to Prodigy ends up in the winner's circle, but Will Young proved to be the exception.
Who's this guy?
He thinks he can just show up.
I know, he just shows up. He gets in touch with me during the week and says, hey, can I come bowl Prodigy? I live in South Carolina. You ever accept visitors? Yes. And he shows me a video of himself bowling. I say, you bowl like that, you'll clean everybody's clock. And that's exactly what you did. So not only do you get to sign the coveted trophy pin, and the pins are in the box over there. You gotta reach for the box. We've got a stagehand reaching for the pen right now. So you get to put your name on the coveted trophy pin, and that also means that you'll have an invitation to come to our Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. You might be the one who wins it for keeps. And in addition to signing privileges this week, you also have an extra gift. This week we're giving away a copy of The Short Game, the movie that we gave away with the Y'all Log video. And I promise you, you'll enjoy that even if you don't play golf. You will see your life in junior gold qualifier tournaments and junior gold tournaments play out before your eyes.
Oh my God, this is awesome.
Did you have fun today?
I had a lot of fun. This is a very big privilege, and I'm very thankful I got to come.
Think you're gonna come back?
Oh yeah, without a question.
Awesome.
And I'm bringing the Charlestonians with me.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
And that's how we play Prodigy Bowlers Tour.
Now, from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom, with reports from around the world, across the nation, and up your alley. This is Prodigy Striking News. On January 5th, the day after this episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour was recorded, several Prodigy kids competed in the monthly Georgia Youth Bowlers Tour, GYBT event, held on the first Sunday of each month. This month, it was contested at Bolero Norcross, just a few miles down the road from Bolero Roswell. Hunter Moffitt finished 4th in the U12 boys. In the U15 boys division, Brandon Cho took 1st place. Bryant Griffith finished 4th. Jacob Ballinger finished tied for 6th. In the U15 girls, Allison McGowan finished 5th. In the U17 boys, Jake Holbein put up a strong 2nd place showing. John Woolfolk finished 6th. Will Young made the trip from South Carolina complete with a 7th place finish on the heels of his win on Prodigy. In the U17 girls, Savannah Croft took top honors. In the U20 boys, Nick Dissinger finished 2nd. Tristan Davis was 3rd. Dawson Stewart finished 9th. Anthony Smiga was 10th. And Nolan Kemp, bowling in only his 2nd GYBT event, finished 12th. In the U20 girls, Bailey Snow was 2nd. Allison Coriel finished 3rd. And Glory Harmon was 4th. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas at the Team USA trials, big congratulations go out to Terrell Ingalls, who qualified for Team USA. The sky's the limit for this kid, and we wish him nothing but the best.